When Princess and Catherine stepped before the cameras, no one anticipated what would unfold next. A moment so raw and heartbreaking it seemed to bring the palace itself to a standstill. Both women, known for their composure, unexpectedly broke down while speaking about the royal figure rarely mentioned, Prince Louis. What began as a closed-door charity engagement, never intended to attract media attention, quickly took a shocking turn. There had been no formal announcement from the royal press office, no major broadcasters present, only a small, sanctioned documentary crew following Anne's philanthropic work, and Catherine's attendance wasn't even confirmed until the last minute. But insiders say the atmosphere shifted instantly the moment Prince Louis's name surfaced. And, usually direct and unshakable, froze mid-sentence, while Catherine reached for her water, unable to lift the glass. The silence grew heavy, charged with an emotion no one knew how to handle until it finally broke. Anne lowered her head, visibly trembling, and Catherine's eyes filled with tears as her voice cracked, whispering, "There's so much they don't know." Within seconds, royal aides rushed to cut the feed, shielding cameras and whispering urgently into earpieces, but the damage was done. Those 6 seconds of unfiltered emotion had already been captured and witnessed before the women were escorted off stage, leaving the stunned audience questioning whether they had just seen something truly unscripted in a world defined by control and silence. Back at the palace, the atmosphere turned frantic as a crisis meeting was convened within the hour and damage control protocols were swiftly activated. Yet the real story lay not in what was shown, but in what was deliberately withheld. Reports suggest a pre-approved joint statement from Princess and Catherine had been drafted days earlier, allegedly meant to address growing rumors surrounding Prince Louis's prolonged absence from public life. But that statement was never released. Palace sources claim King Charles himself intervened, instructing the press office to stand down and delay any formal explanation. No official reason was offered, and the only public response came in the form of a vague press release describing the event as emotionally charged and deeply personal, language that only fueled further speculation. Within hours, leaked footage spread rapidly across social media, trending under the hashtag truth. And what unsettled the public most wasn't just the visible breakdown, it was the royal machine's apparent effort to erase it. Insiders whispered of hushed corridors, tearful conversations behind gilded doors, and an eerie absence of denials or clarifications, because in the royal world, silence speaks louder than words. What followed was a slow, unsettling unraveling of revelations and quiet confessions the household was unprepared to confront. Behind the grandeur of Kensington Palace, secrets long shielded from public view began to surface. For years, whispers about Prince Louis's condition had been dismissed, but now questions grew impossible to ignore. While the world remained distracted by ceremonies and carefully staged appearances, something deeply personal was unraveling within palace walls. Prince Louis, the once cheeky, spirited child briefly seen during public moments, had gradually vanished from view, his absence subtle at first, but eventually undeniable. Months passed without a single appearance, no family outings, no school photographs, not even a fleeting glimpse behind a curtained window, as if the youngest Wales child had been quietly erased. Royal insiders speculated some citing health concerns, others suggesting extreme protection, but beneath the gossip, a far more troubling reality appeared to simmer. Staff close to the family noticed unsettling changes. Louis no longer spoke freely, no longer laughed in the corridors, and teachers reportedly raised concerns about his withdrawn behavior, with one noting his eyes looked far too tired for a child so young. These observations, however, were not addressed, they were documented, then buried. Medical advisors were brought in under strict confidentiality, and whatever conclusions were reached remain locked away, hidden behind the palace's carefully guarded walls. Those sealed reports were locked away so tightly that even senior aides were warned never to discuss them. Catherine, fiercely protective of her children, began to withdraw, reducing outside contact, declining interviews, and quietly cancelling engagements. At first, it was framed as family time, but it soon became clear she was shielding something fragile, something deeply personal. She reportedly rejected the initial recommendations from palace-appointed experts, instead reaching out to specialists under pseudonyms, operating in complete discretion to prevent any media leaks. Even her closest friends noticed the change. She was exhausted, emotionally strained, and guarded. That was when Princess Anne stepped in, known for her no-nonsense demeanor and sharp intuition, and began making unannounced visits to Kensington, and what she witnessed reportedly unsettled her deeply. The bond between mother and son remained strong, yet it was strained by constant worry and a shared sense of helplessness. Sources claim and spent long hours walking the gardens with Catherine, speaking in hushed voices, reviewing handwritten notes and confidential documents, until something unspoken began to take shape. A quiet understanding between the two women. Some within the household began referring to it as a decision pact. Its details remain unclear, but its impact has rippled through every layer of the royal machine. Some believe and advised Catherine to keep Prince Louis away from royal duties indefinitely, while others suggest the pact included a vow to confront the monarchy directly if Louis's condition was ever exploited or misunderstood. There are even whispers that Anne threatened to step away from her own responsibilities if forced into silence. Doctors have refused all comment, and not a single official statement has been issued regarding Louis's condition, with requests for clarification met only by cold silence. Whatever is being protected inside Kensington Palace appears powerful enough to override standard royal protocol. As the emotional toll mounted, questions stopped being whispered and began to echo loudly, yet the palace remained sealed shut. For the women involved, the cost of silence became unbearable. It was no longer just maternal instinct, but desperation. Princess Anne's midnight plea to her brother, King Charles, was delivered with shaking hands and a stark warning: "We're losing him." What pushed the monarchy's most steadfast pillar measured, composed, and unwavering for decades to break protocol and speak with such urgency remains the most troubling question of all. Often dismissed as aloof, Princess Anne revealed a side the public rarely saw within the walls of Clarence House late at night. She was neither composed nor measured. She was alarmed. Weeks of tense silences and whispered exchanges with Catherine had taken their toll, and Anne could no longer bear the weight of secrecy. Against every code of discretion drilled into her since childhood, she made an unscheduled, unannounced call to her brother, King Charles. He was reportedly caught off guard, still in his private quarters, when Anne arrived. For over an hour, the two siblings met with no advisors, aides, or press secretaries in sight, just blood-bound family members confronted by the divide between duty and urgency. What was said remains unofficial, but those close to the king describe his expression afterward as haunted. One source claims and opened with a chilling statement: "He's slipping through the cracks and no one sees it." The urgency in her voice was unmistakable. She did not speak in hypotheticals. She recounted specific examples: the withdrawn behavior, emotional instability, and signs of detachment that no one dared acknowledge. She warned that Prince Louis, despite being surrounded by the monarchy's best, was being failed from within, and she made it clear that the responsibility did not rest solely on staff or specialists, it rested on the Crown Charles war. Yet Charles's attention drifted repeatedly to optics. The public perception of the Wales family, potential press intrusion, leaks, and misinterpretation. To Anne, it was more image management than intervention. She reminded him, eyes damp, that the monarchy had once allowed silence to destroy Diana and vowed, "We promised we wouldn't let that happen again." Then came the threat, not out of malice, but of resolve. If the palace continued to stall, and warned she would speak not as a princess, not as a royal, but as an aunt unwilling to stand by while a child suffered behind velvet curtains. She made clear that if necessary, she would make her concerns public through charitable work, statements, or any platform at her disposal. It was not a plea, it was a promise. Anne's words, spoken with unwavering resolve, hung in the air long before the king responded, and the silence in the room confirmed every fear she carried. As she left Clarence House, her footsteps heavy and deliberate, she understood the battle had only just begun. Yet before Charles could react, another quiet rebellion surfaced from Catherine herself. Always poised, composed, and collected, she finally reached the limit of her endurance, confessing in a moment of vulnerability to a former aide something that would forever alter the narrative. "I don't know how to reach him anymore." The image of Catherine, the elegant, graceful figure, the embodiment of modern monarchy and maternal strength, belied the private struggle few could fathom. For months, she had been navigating a reality that clashed violently with the palace's curated story. A perfect family, a perfect home, a perfect heir, while her youngest child, once the light in every room, drifted further from her reach. One sleepless night, following yet another trying day with Louis, Catherine let the facade slip. During a private walk on the palace grounds with a loyal former aide, the conversation shifted from formalities to confessions. She whispered of hollow stares, sudden silences, and confusion in his eyes, of routines adjusted, pressures removed, and private physicians consulted outside the palace's circle, yet nothing worked. Worse, she feared the palace itself was making matters worse. Subtle pressure to downplay concerns, polished reports that contradicted her daily reality, and a persistent sense of being gaslit into believing it was just a phase. And then came the most harrowing revelation. A school incident in which Lewis had locked himself in a storage room during recess, refusing to speak for hours, trembling, and unable to recognize his teacher. The palace had been notified, yet the event was quietly erased and reframed as fatigue, staff sworn to silence, and even William seemingly clinging to the illusion of normalcy. Catherine, however, knew the truth. That night, the former aide, unbeknownst to her, documented the conversation not to betray, but to preserve a record of a mother quietly fighting a battle the monarchy was struggling to see. The confession became a catalyst, setting off a chain of events that tore through the palace's carefully curated facade. All it took was one clip, just 6 seconds. Captured by a palace staffer during a private family event, it showed Prince Louis standing at the edge of a small gathering, overwhelmed, hands trembling, gaze lost in the distance. The muffled background couldn't hide the tension. A man's voice, firm and strained unmistakably, William said, "This isn't helping Catherine," while her softer, cracking reply came through, "He needs time. Why can't you see that?" Then the camera jerked. The recording had been noticed, and the clip abruptly ended. But 6 seconds were enough. Within hours, the video exploded online, first on an anonymous account, and then across every platform. The palace scrambled into damage control mode. A spokesperson dismissed it as manipulated, out of context, even part of an online disinformation campaign, but that only fanned the fire. Investigative teams obtained the raw file, confirmed it was authentic, unedited, and time-stamped to the private event at Windsor. The palace was not just caught off guard, they had been exposed. A digital wildfire erupted. The hashtag Where is Lewis trended in over 20 countries. Posts poured in, outraged, supportive, heartbroken. Demands for transparency grew louder. Questions became accusations. How long had this been happening? Why had the truth been withheld? And most disturbingly, what else was being hidden behind palace walls? Chaos spread inside. Departments scrambled to assess the fallout. Press officers argued with private secretaries. Security launched internal audits to trace the leak. But the public wasn't the only one demanding answers. Inside, tensions had reached a breaking point. Within the family itself, the fallout was immediate. William reportedly refused to comment, while Charles, furious, ordered a complete media freeze. Amid the noise, two key figures disappeared from public view, and Catherine, once prominent through charity work and carefully scheduled engagements, went completely silent. No appearances, no statements, not even a whisper through unofficial channels. Days passed, and the silence only deepened, while pressure surged from every direction. Speculation turned dark. Theories emerged. Some claimed Catherine had been silenced. Others feared Louis had been removed from royal grounds entirely. Every passing minute, without a response, became another blow to the palace's credibility. The family's usual strategy, wait out the storm, was failing. The world was watching, and this time, it wasn't about scandal, it was about a child. Just as the situation seemed to spiral beyond control, an unexpected ally stepped into the spotlight. Prince Harry. Branded the rebel, the exile, the outsider, his sudden intervention was neither rebellion nor stunt, it was personal, and it sent shockwaves through the monarchy. It began with a cryptic post on Harry's long-dormant, private Instagram account, barely followed, rarely updated. Within minutes, the world was watching. A single sentence appeared in stark white letters against a black screen. "It's always the youngest they forget." No names, no context, but everyone knew exactly who he meant. The timing was deliberate, coming just days after the leaked footage of Louis and Catherine's deafening silence. It wasn't a jab, it was a warning. Meghan remained absent, her silence only amplifying the weight of Harry's words. This was not a Sussex stunt. It was Harry, stripped of PR polish, reaching back into the family he had long fought to distance himself from, not to accuse, but to protect. Within 24 hours, the Sussex spokesperson issued a brief, unfiltered statement. Prince Harry understands what it means to grow up feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. He sees what's happening. He knows what it feels like to be surrounded by people who care more about image than the individual. He speaks not as a prince, but as a brother, an uncle, and a father. No child should ever feel invisible. For the first time, Prince Louis had been publicly acknowledged by name from outside the immediate royal household, and the reverberations were immediate. The silence didn't end there. Harry continued to speak in subtle but pointed ways, alluding to cycles repeating and a legacy of emotional blindness. The implication was clear. This wasn't just about Louis, it was about the institution's failure to learn from Diana, from himself. Public reaction was immediate. Sentiment, already shifting toward Catherine and Anne, now surged in favor of Louis. Hashtags like #ProtectLouis and #HeIsSeen trended globally. Celebrities amplified Harry's message, while former palace staffers, long silenced, began speaking off the record. The narrative that had once painted Harry as a traitor was now bending toward uncomfortable truths. Maybe he had been right all along. Back at Buckingham Palace, the impact was seismic. Aides scrambled to craft a counter-strategy, but the damage was done. Public confidence wavered, and in a last-minute decision, King Charles and Queen Camilla cancelled a high-profile arts ceremony scheduled that week, months in the making, offering no explanation or alternative date. Insiders said the cancellation stemmed directly from Charles, visibly shaken by the international uproar and the growing perception that the monarchy was failing its own bloodline. Yet the chaos was only beginning. The most dramatic revelations were still to come, not from a royal, but from an outsider holding long-hidden secrets. Locked away in a secured vault was the handwritten journal of Prince Louis's royal nanny. Observations, fears, and letters she had never dared send. What she recorded paints a haunting picture of the child's inner world. The journal, kept quietly over 2 of her most challenging years of service, chronicled a period the palace publicly called transitional. But privately, the nanny documented something far more troubling. Over and over, her entries referenced a place she labeled the Red Room. Initially dismissed as childish imagination, her concern grew as Louis avoided the corridor leading to it, turned pale at its mention, and on multiple occasions woke screaming, begging, "Don't send me back there." While the palace never acknowledged the room, staff familiar with the property confirmed it existed once a private study, now rarely opened. More disturbing were the descriptions of isolation, long stretches of silence, restricted interactions, and a shrinking world that deepened his withdrawal by the day. Despite strict training to follow protocol, the nanny attempted to raise concerns discreetly, even requesting reassignment twice due to the emotional toll, both requests denied. Among the recovered documents was an undelivered letter addressed directly to Catherine, written in the hope of breaking through the silence and reaching the mother struggling to protect her child. The title of the undelivered letter was stark: "He's withdrawing." In it, the nanny pleaded with the Duchess to intervene more directly. "He doesn't cry. He doesn't shout. He disappears into himself," she wrote. "I fear we are watching him vanish in real time." The letter was never sent, tucked between journal pages, folded tightly, perhaps too dangerous to deliver, too painful to destroy. What had begun as whispered rumors and flickering headlines now took on undeniable form. This wasn't media speculation. It was a first-hand account from someone who had been inside the palace, watching it unfold, powerless to stop it. Her words traced a pattern of silence, suppression, and desperation, raw, unembellished, and terrifying in their honesty. And yet, one question lingered. What was the Red Room? The journal hinted, but never answered. That mystery became a lightning rod for online sleuths, journalists, and former palace aides alike. Some dismissed it as symbolic. Others insisted it concealed something the palace never wanted revealed. As public pressure mounted and secrets became impossible to bury, the monarchy was forced into an unprecedented decision: no royal protocol, no press briefing, just raw, unfiltered emotion. In an emergency broadcast streamed across royal channels, Princess Anne and Catherine sat side by side, finally breaking their silence. What they revealed left the nation stunned. Gone were grand halls and royal insignias. Instead, 2 women sat closely on a plain couch, the weight of the moment etched into every expression. There was no scripted introduction, no polished performance. What followed was a reckoning. And spoke first, her voice steady, but carrying decades of restrained conviction. "This isn't about titles," she began. "It's about a child, my nephew." She glanced briefly at Catherine, who struggled to hold back tears, and didn't wait for palace approval. She didn't speak in abstractions. She named the truth and cut straight to the heart of it. Through the fiction, and Catherine admitted what the institution had spent months denying. Something had gone deeply wrong, and it had been allowed to continue unchecked. Then Catherine spoke, her words quiet, but striking like thunder. She revealed that Prince Louis had been diagnosed with a condition requiring intensive emotional support, a condition they had attempted to manage privately, only to face resistance at every level. Professional recommendations were ignored, internal warnings buried, and her own pleas minimized. They said I was overreacting, she admitted, voice trembling. They told me to smile for the cameras, but behind those cameras, we were breaking. There was no attempt to spin the narrative. Catherine's honesty exposed systemic silence, the cost of preserving the monarchy's polished image, and the emotional toll borne by those trying to protect a child. She didn't ask for sympathy, she asked for awareness. Don't wait, she urged families watching. If your child is struggling, speak. Speak until someone listens. And nodded quietly beside her, a united front forged not by politics, but by heartbreak. In that moment, the monarchy cracked not in weakness, but in truth. Public reaction was immediate. Social media, talk shows, and international headlines shifted from speculation to collective empathy, as people shared their own stories and praised the courage it took to step forward. Yet not everyone was moved. King Charles remained unseen, reportedly watching from Sandringham, offering no public response, no statement, no appearance. His silence spoke louder than any royal decree. Behind palace walls, that silence ignited a new fury, not just from the public, but from within his own bloodline. And just when closure seemed near, one final royal decision reignited the storm. A swift, cold, and irreversible decree from the king, the consequences of which reportedly pushed Catherine and William to a breaking point, leaving the palace and the world grappling with questions about loyalty, legacy, and the true cost of secrecy. Within 72 hours, the official decree was signed and circulated through the palace communication system. Prince Louis would no longer participate in any future royal engagements. The reasoning was brief, clinical, framed as protective. To the outside world, it appeared as a safeguard. To those in the inner circle, the message was unmistakable. This wasn't protection, it was removal, a quiet exile disguised as care. Charles had made the decision without consulting Catherine or William, conferring instead with senior courtiers more concerned with optics than healing. The aim was control, not compassion. When Catherine learned of the decree, she didn't speak, she simply nodded and left. Moments later, a staff member found her alone in the West Garden, tears falling, not of shock, but of betrayal, from the institution and from her own family. William, present during the discussion, said nothing to oppose it, and his silence cut deeper than any royal protocol. The divide between them widened instantly. Torn between duty and fatherhood, William became paralyzed by the weight of the crown, believing silence would preserve stability. But in doing so, he forfeited Catherine's trust. She had stood vulnerable before the world, and now the man who once fought alongside her chose caution over courage. Princess Anne, once again refusing to remain silent, reportedly stormed into Charles's private study demanding answers. She received none, only a rehearsed line from an aide. The king believes this is in everyone's best interest. Anne's response was simple, scathing, and final. And what about Louis? Before leaving, she made her position clear. If the monarchy could not protect its most vulnerable, it didn't deserve her service. Public reaction was immediate and sharply divided. Some viewed the move as a necessary, protective measure. Others called it abandonment. The same institution that had once mishandled Diana's pain now seemed to turn its back on the one boy who needed them most. The royal family now stood fractured, not in secrecy, but in full view of the world. The damage was not just internal, it was generational. And as questions swirled about the future of Louis, Catherine, and the monarchy itself, one truth became undeniable. The polished facade of royal control had cracked, revealing the very human, very painful reality within.